Poke a stick at a grizzly bear. Eat medicine that's out of date. Use your private parts as piranha bait. Dumb ways to die. So many dumb ways to die.
We're going to start off talking immediately about Lily Peet's video, Discord Princess. Aptly named because the last time Lily Peet did one of these princess titles, it covered Posh Princess, aka Pinkie Posh. Lily Peet generally only defends god-awful people in the Brony community. As you can clearly see by the above example, I've had friends ask me, what did I think of this piece? This video already exists, and it was called All About the Drama, and it was covered by Antony C. Lily originally said,
Thought our good old friends at the Rift were going to suddenly approach a very volatile subject that relies a lot on he said, she said with responsibility intact, then you are wrong and need to go back to internet school. An event has to be over long enough to really look at the effects it had and really look at how everyone behaved within it within a certain degree of fresh eye.
What Lily really meant to say was, I need people to forget Antony C already did this video 7 months ago. With more class, understanding, and of all other things humor, I want to be entirely clear. I respect the hell out of Antony C. You should too. But if memory serves, Antony C came on King of Limbo, and after his video, and my response along with Event Horizon, Made, Toon Critic, and British Ninja, he had his ass so thoroughly handed to him that he never came back, despite being on the show 3 to 4 times before that.
Welcome to Antony C's beta male hug box.
Antony?
Take off your shoes and watch out for the cardboard white knights. They're very fragile.
If I may be so bold, dear Antony, you could have just said, hey, I want you to drop the KP drama. You wouldn't even had to say the word favor at all. 1, I owed you for all the podcasts. 2, I'm a massive fan. But regretfully, you tried to defend Rachel using the truth. And we all know how that turned out because we all know the truth about KP. Not to mention, when that failed, KP went to my friends and tried to get me blackballed from the Brony community. Once again, I'd like to thank Keyframe for nipping that in the bud. Now Lily, this is normally where I would invite you to debate your stance. Here, why would I? Again, I and my peers already rolled up and smoked someone smarter, more honest, more talented, and better looking on that topic.
Lead out with this. Antony, we will likely be talking about the legality at some length of the show assets. You're aware of that wasn't the single biggest issue. Some streamers that have been C&D'd by Hasbro, just for an example, a fairly straightforward example of people breaking the law that fandom's never really given a crap about, mostly because bronies typically aren't concerned with Hasbro's bottom line. That's why I think a lot of people, not all, were concerned why you focused on that for your video.
Yes, I'm quite aware. Don't worry. It's been made very apparent to me. No, you're not the first to commentate on that. First of all, I just want to say thank you to everyone who saw the video.
It was beautiful. Loved it. Wonderful.
No, thank you for that. And this whole experience has been something of a learning one, and I think lots of people are learning lessons right now, and me more than anyone. And I'm quite ready to be schooled on all of this legality business, if anyone can. But I finally saw your video. Yours is FNG. Yours is. Or can I call you Anthony? Is that what would you prefer?
Sure, that'll work fine. You can call me.
Okay. No, that's fine. So I saw your video response to it, which is the only video response to which I'm aware at the moment. And finally saw it, and it was loved it. Thank you. That thing you mentioned in there, there is another side to this whole fiasco. There's drama, that catalyst that set the whole thing off. Every so often, like 1 in 5, 1 in 10 comments or something like that, someone makes it very apparent to me how they feel about it. No, you didn't address this, blah, 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 blah. So, no, I'm very well aware. Thank you.
You literally brought nothing even remotely new to that old topic. I feel like I'm watching a second opinion video where one lone asshole goes, no, with no one to back them up. Let's get to this.
What a shit to go through. We've talked about the predatory nature of the Brony community and how it grabs a hold of even the tiniest scandals and rides them out like they're on an experimental aphrodisiac.
Notice the we thing? On a routine basis, I've had people like Toon Critic, British Ninja, Kichi FIM, Kitty, Event Horizon, Lightning Bliss of all people, and yes, Lily, about things more than routinely than you chime in to be heard on this show. Oh yeah, I forgot.
seething resentment of larger channels, which leads to exactly what you think it leads to. Most of these channels have become rumor mongers and tabloid journalists in response, desperately hungering for any information they can find to start their rumor mill. One in particular, for no good reason, is so carnivorous and so desperate for attention that he devolved into flat-out harassment in trying to provoke a response from people who have largely ignored him.
fallenwish. For any of Lily's fans who are convinced that I'm an unreasonable dick about things between me and Lily, I'm the one still talking to Josh. So when I say class, I can mean it. As usual, your opening statement has you dead on arrival. There is no we in Lily Peet land. You either agree in the comments, or the Discord, or you get your shit kicked like British Ninja did. Am I safe to assume we really means me? Again, I've assisted fallenwish in the past with her troubles with horse news and other things. And other people firsthand. Something Vita has done as well. What the fuck did you do? No, seriously, today, I'm on fallenwish's friend list. We talked the last couple days, before and after she went in for surgery, where she thought she was gonna die. She wasn't and she didn't. But you know how the human mind is. Anytime I've addressed fallenwish on the channel, it's only to clean up the most basic regards to one topic. I have several friends from Pastel Pros to Toon Critic to Secret Dreamer to Vita to Dulcet Tones, and yeah, I know Hisenshi, who's someone till recently was someone that I normally leaned over to and said, hey, cut it out, when I would tap someone on the shoulder and then tell them to rein it in. What happens here is when that is repeatedly ignored. See this picture here? I joked about drowning in fandom blood, about having to shut up constantly, because I'm expected to shut up about so many things now. I'm really sick and tired of constantly having to look the other way, and there's someone who's used to fucking up and using the excuse, oh come on now. If I had my druthers, that's what this week would really be about. But in the meantime, I'd like to talk about the KP drama. And we're gonna bottle up that previous shit, because that always works out really well.
The instigators over the hot fiery coals of penance. While 2016 was filled to the brim with fights among bronies that escalated into rumor-laden scandals, today we're going to detail the most disgusting of the bunch and why every single person who had a hand in fanning its flames had better have learned their fucking lesson about taking clear and obvious bullshit seriously.
Dear Lily, KP is a god-awful bitch. At the best defense I've heard is that she's sorry and seeing her sincerity be anything but. I've talked to too many people who I owe the world to, who never lied to me, to the best of my knowledge. Several channels, well over 10,000 subs, who went in detail on what a complete and total bitch Rachel is. If you think it's a popularity contest, I still talk to a lot of lobies that used to work for KP. Ask me this, how many of those people did KP keep in touch with?
Let's take a lot of shit. Not just from defensive loudmouths who clearly own shares in Hasbro given how badly they react when you describe how an episode is shit, but from each other. It's common to believe that within the analysis community they're all a bunch of lovely people who adore each other, largely because most of them all take part in a group project wherein they pretend to do just that. But as we've demonstrated throughout the lifespan of this series, that conflictless friendship is for the most part smoke and mirrors. People just don't work that way. They're petty, they're jealous, they're vindictive, and they're at each other's throats whenever possible. Oh, that just as easily applies to you! Billy, at what point did I say it didn't? I've never been one to pretend that the analysis community is a friendly place. Hell, I've devoted 3 episodes of Glass of Water to telling individual analysts to get good and stop being shit. I revel in a slanging match, and my only interest in a moral high ground is how much velocity I can reach when I mosh pit into the fight, because that's all a moral high ground is good for.
I'm not gonna lie, that was pretty good. Carry on.
People are competing in the same business, they're of course going to be at each other's throats in a desperate bid to be the most popular and constantly trying to tear down the channels bigger than them. In Horse Famous, we focused on FNGR and his little clique because they were particularly noteworthy of doing this. While most analysts engage in this behavior intermittently between their actual content, FNGR has no content other than screeching about other analysts and kicking up rumors for attention. And when literally everyone is more popular than you, there is no shortage of targets.
Pretty sure at least half of those videos are podcast, which the tempo and tone tend to be respectful, or at the very least as respectful as the guest allows. Let's take a look. Ponder Sprocket is the lovely artist who draws some of the thumbnails for How Not to Brony as well as King of Limbo. After hiring her, I finally got off my dead ass to honor her in some small way. I highly recommend you check out that podcast and her DeviantArt and her channel, where she does commentaries while she speed draws or whatever they're called. She's a wonderful yet scary person. So for God's sakes, behave if you go there. The King of Limbo before that is on the Pedantic Romantic, who is the best up-and-rising anime analyst in his community. I'm beyond humbled that he came on my show, and if you look at his views, he slaps the shit out of Lily's views, with videos cracking well into the 700,000s, with of all things anime analysis. That's right, Lily. Not dropping his pants and being a meme factory, he went out there and respected his craft, he respected himself, and he got over. Not only do I watch TPR, but I toss him $1 a month, and I believe he deserves far more. The last 2 podcasts, which are technically one, are from Jim Fear. This Cadillac among men has the respect of such bronies as Toon Critic, Golden Fox, Cloud Cuckoo Country, who was the smartest brony who ever lived. You should go check out his work as well. And to quote Kichi, Jim Fear is like Rhino Reno Mills if Ryan had a point and some intelligence to him. Jim Fear isn't just a great content creator, he's an amazing human being. And if every atheist was at least 1/10 as awesome as this man is, I'd have to find someone else to hate on. The King of Limbo before that is, oddly enough, you guessed it, Event Horizon, who I must admit I thought was a scary dude at first. But I reached out to him, and we get along famously. We even had Aeon Dreams come on for that one. You know, the guy with the highest rated King of Limbo in the show's history? This is Sean Howell. He's an accomplished artist who only worked on the greatest comic book that ever was, called Ninja High School. He worked in the comic industry before it sucked, and I'm referring to comic books before the crash, not some political bullshit. Comics were long since dead before any of that nonsense happened. Even if you hate me, Sean Howell is an amazing human being. He has stories for miles. Please go check out his DeviantArt. Before that, wow, Willie, did you fuck up? This is my vector artist for my OCs. This is You the Skunk. While he wasn't entirely confident in his English, I'm glad we got to honor this man, and naturally, I wouldn't be here without him. His DA will be in the description. Lilac Galaxy, another top 5 human being, right up there with Jim Fear. Not only did she join the Secret Rift recently, but she's a mod in the room. She'll always have a place in any Skype room I'm in, or any podcast that she asks for. If you don't like Lilac, unsub my channel and fuck off. This is the editor and his lovely girlfriend Crimson Glow. He is a Secret Rift mod. Fun guy, lovable dick, wouldn't change him for the world. I look forward to seeing him at BronyCon. You know, looking around these, I'm feeling a little choked up and teary-eyed. This podcast here was to have a sit-down talk with Skihound, who sadly has left YouTube. I actually have the story behind that tape and the permission to post that. We may see that in this video, or perhaps more likely later, because this is already going to run extra long. The podcast also falls on Dylan Thomas, who will also be coming on from MarsReviews next week. It's a real big deal. Dylan is a commentator and a fun guy, and gets a really bad rap from a lot of assholes, like say Doodle Tones, basically the Lily Peet of the CC community. I may come to regret this, but hashtag I stand with Dylan Thomas. Last, but certainly not least, this is Larry Bundy Jr. 265,000 subs, my personal favorite YouTuber, funny guy. This was the last time I ever had Ryan or Reno Mills on my show. What an amazing send-off. He's also on the roster for the Nostalgia Critic. Don't worry, I swear he doesn't suck. He's open-minded, he's worked with people like Jim Sterling, H-Bomber Guy, Mr. Medicare, Maddox, and I thought I hung out with some very interesting people. So yeah, Lily, thank you for reminding me while the podcasts don't get quite the same retention, it's something I'm very proud of. I understand that podcasting, in the great scheme of things, isn't really a big deal. On the other hand, I do enjoy it. And if that makes me an asshole, I won't change it for the world.
Everyone is more popular than you. There is no shortage of targets.
I could be a real penis and go through how many people on this list who I straight up outperform, so I'm gonna just say it's about 11 people or so. Not to mention, if I may be so bold, British Ninja and Kichi FM are here because of me. Who did you make, Lily? Oh, that's right, nobody. Because you can't lazily put out a 2-minute video with no heart or soul and expect people to fucking improve. And for the record, it's been an honor to punch down on people like Puzzle Piece at every chance I get. Now, if I can count on how many people in the pic I'm on good terms with, I'm going to say conservatively about 20 people. Do you know how many people in this picture that Lily Peet gets along with? 0. Do you know how many people from this picture are even allowed to post on Lily Peet's comment section? Let's say a hyper-liberal 5. Lily Peet is defending my friends and peers from me. But hey, if you don't like me to tell you how many people in this pic are god-awful human beings, I counted about 7. And by the way, Lily, you're not even one of them. You know what? Let's be super tacky. Sweetie Bloom, Puzzle Piece, KP, Red Cord, Mad Munchkin, Bag of Vicodin, and Sketchy the Changeling. Every last one of those people are irredeemable cunts, top to bottom, head to toe, mind, body, and soul. As for direct competition, drama-wise, Lily, it's you, me, Foxwell, and Pastel. And I guess if I'm being super fucking inventive, Efren and he who will not be named. But let's be honest, Lily, maybe once upon a time ago, you had honest and sincere fans who were in your camp who watched my work. Have you noticed you got people off a tune, but not me? And that's the thing. My people would have far better gossip. So why are my people going to you? Even the ones I disregard, even the ones I cast off. It couldn't possibly be because you're personally insufferable.
In an industry like this, someone has to be on the top, and that's where KP comes in. I Love Kim Possible a Lot is the most subscribed analysis channel. Well, okay, the Brony Notion and the Fiery Joker both have more subscribers, but that's spread across a lot of different kinds of content, while KP only does analysis.
Snirk. Again, this is Proto Mario, 500,000 subs, cool guy. I think a week ago he managed to crack 1/5 of his sub average. The rest, Lily, are dead subscribers. Remember that. Do you know what a term dead subscriber is? It's basically when YouTube puts out a video and it misses your sub box because people haven't clicked on your videos in so long. Meanwhile, Lily, KP's reach hits 1/4 her sub box. That's with Silver Quill, Jaw Scorcher, Dr. Wolf, and the Brony Notion, as well as Antony C trying to put her back on top. Conversely, this is Tyandega. His channel has 44,000 subscribers, about 1/4 of what KP has. Yeah? And in his last 5 videos, he broke 100k views twice. Out of his last 15 videos, he's done it 4 times. And most importantly, his last video broke the 100k view cap. His future is up, and KP's best days are behind her. And Tyandega isn't off collabing with Silver Quill, Jaw Scorcher, the Brony Notion. In some small way, I'd like to think I had something to do with that. And what's more, KP thinks in some small way I had something to do with that too. Hell, before the KP drama, it was common knowledge that KP was a god-awful bitch to everyone and their mom who had a channel and was remotely involved in the community. Hell, truth be told, when this all started, I didn't even call her all that bad. I had fans pestering for me to cover the drama. If you look back at my video on the topic, How Not to Brony 11, poisoning the audience with the truth, do you even see KP in the thumbnail? Do you even see KP in the title of the video? There's a reason for that. It's because it wasn't some massive plan, till KP tried to undermine me behind closed doors while being bitchy and overexposed. She was a long way from public enemy number 1. Filthy casuals worshipped KP. Even John Enterbots, that's Mysterious Mr. Enters fans, have a fairly good chance to see KP was empty, dull, dry, listless, trite, easily digestible, and that's not me saying, hey, unsub her, or me saying don't watch her. KP's insights make Dr. Wolf look like he's a super genius. And if this was about me hitting someone I hate, the Brony Notion has pissed me off way more to my face. We had our go, and generally, I only mention him in passing because there's literally nothing to talk about. You can't stretch boring into a full video. As for Josh, I believe he'll leave a better opening for us to carry on.
KP's popularity is a testament to the kind of content she makes. Instead of detailed, po-faced, and serious critique, her reviews tend to amount to little more than plot synopsis broken up by an endless deluge of jokes and internet memes. It makes sense that she's the most popular of the bunch because she does little more than make you giggle for 5 minutes. This isn't surprising. Most people in a fandom like positivity, or at least negativity that's doused in asterisks. One of the reasons the analysis community is so contentious is precisely because they'll often single out episodes that are crap. KP just doesn't do this. Even if she does come across a particularly bad episode, the review will be sprinkled with so many jokes that it makes the medicine go down.
This part really hurts here. It really fucking hurts. Normally this is where I'd say, to Lily's bullshit, there's a kernel of truth. Why yes, Lily, PewDiePie is the most popular because for the most part, he doesn't make you think. If someone warm, sunny, and kind and sweet can make you feel good about yourself, the problem with KP, like PewDiePie, is when people find out deep down inside, or in this case just below the surface, you're kind of a fuck, even more so than the average human being, you're done. So, if you're pro KP or pro Lily, looking at the comments, I got some bad news. It doesn't matter that Lily's right in this small area. Now, if you have something to say beyond empty, dumb fluff, and you're a giant asshole, people will forgive you. Don't believe me? This is Digi. His Patreon is 4 to 5 times bigger than Josh Scorcher's, and he is far less cuddly. The problem here is KP was sold as a cinnamon roll, and she's not. I have some serious issues with Dr. Wolf. I think they're legit, but on a whole, you haven't seen Dr. Wolf and Han Lynx, do you? I'm waiting, fingers crossed. Pretty sure at this point, it's never gonna happen. Hell, going back to the Brony notion, while I hate him and he hates me, there's nothing on this guy. He's a dick, but there's nothing really to report on. Don't you think, by now, if I was just making up horseshit, I would have done something on the Brony notion by now? Hell, no one is even willing to bullshit about the Brony notion. Again, I've looked.
This is not an uncommon trend. I've experienced it myself with In a Minute being the primary source of me gaining subscribers, while the far more contemplative Glass of Water is the series that consistently loses me subscribers. People like their comedy, and KP delivering on that is what skyrocketed her to #1. But sadly, being #1 opens KP to a disproportionate amount of scrutiny, more than she would have gotten if her channel was in any other situation. No, I'm serious. There's a big cognitive dissonance to the way some very vocal people view KP's work. It's not uncommon to hear her derided as a meme lord who relies heavily on pop cultural references to get by, but I've always found it strange that the Brony community suddenly has standards for comedy, considering they can't go 9 seconds without detailing the latest nod to Doctor Who, or obsessively cheering about any possible reference to Lord of the Rings, or edgy Lord of the Rings fanfiction. Speaking just from my own experiences, when I deliberately avoid a popular meme for a given episode on In a Minute, I'll have swarms of comments asking why I didn't point out this thing that everybody else has already pointed out.
Lily, you're blurring the lines between analysts and fans. Granted, the good analysts are fans, and yes, YouTube comments are a special kind of autism, and I'm not gonna walk that back. They're retarded, mentally challenged, handicapped. Be offended. I don't lump you in with the 3 to 4 fans that posted on Sapphire's apology video. Do you know why? Because they're not entertaining. They're parrots that did a piss poor job of repeating the source message. No matter how flawed it was, it went 2 to 3 steps down when it was recited by dullards. Did people resent KP for being empty fluff? Well, when half the Brony war came from the Digi School of Analysis, yeah. Which, by the way, she was on the panel with Digi and his crew back in 2014 at BronyCon, where she tried to bully Past Analysis off it. And that's because Pasta wasn't a complete beta male, he told her to fuck off. Paraphrasing, naturally. See you in the comments below, Pasta.
Even her most vocal detractors have an adoration of her brand of humor, so what gives? Well,
I love Gonzo up and down, so I'm just not going to respond here. See, Lily, that's how friendship works. I don't recall Gonzo putting her over in any way, shape, or form. Again, he's free to show up in the comments and correct me.
that kind of cognitive dissonance isn't that surprising, really. Let me demonstrate. Family Guy is often derided for its abundance of gag humor, reliance on pop cultural references, and its propensity for shock value over meaningful commentary. Now, I like Family Guy. I did an entire fucking video on it, but I can't really argue with that. If that's not your taste in comedy, then it's not your taste in comedy. The problem is, for a lot of Family Guy's detractors, it is their taste in comedy. Most people who like to get on their high horse about Family Guy often then proceed to turn around and start gushing about South Park, a show which takes Family Guy's shtick and pushes it up to 11. Only instead of random gags, South Park takes a random left-wing topic and proceeds to say, "This is stupid. People who care about things are stupid. Aren't we smart?" Parker and Stone have never taken being compared to Family Guy very well, considering they made an entire 2-part episode that amounted to little more than saying, "Stop saying I'm like Family Guy, I'm so much smarter, stop laughing at me." But they are exactly like Family Guy. The only difference is that they're proudly apathetic to social issues and they lack Seth MacFarlane's charisma. The thing is, it's cool to shit on Family Guy, much like saying The Simpsons has been dead since whatever season you started going to college in. It doesn't take much for someone to just repeat someone else's criticism of the show, even if the slightest bit of introspection would see that you're being a massive hypocrite.
I'm going to steal a lot of these points for MarsReviews for his King of Limbo next week, because he hates John Inner too. If you're waiting for me to say parts of KP's fall was schadenfreude, sure. This is Persian Poetess. She's a saint. She's a wonderful, amazing human being. If she went out and made really simple, basic videos and got over really well, there never would have been a Persian Poetess Anon Lynx, because there would have been nothing there to talk about. Hell, the Brony Notion isn't a saint, but he just didn't steamroll and abuse the fuck out of a ton of people in the community, to the best of my knowledge. There's literally nothing in-depth or funny about that guy either. If KP was a nice person, or at the very least not a massive dick to people I respect, I doubt that she'd make my top 10 most hated bronies. In fact, I'm not even sure she does. Okay, she probably does. Probably the bottom 10, not the top 5. You know what, if this video gets 200 upvotes, I'll do a top 10 worst people in the Brony fandom. on my next How Not to Brony.
And likewise, it's cool to shit on KP. The fact that her humor is largely simple reference humor is the easy target, and when you're not a good critic yourself, you fail to notice the dissonance. So this led to KP being shat on almost immediately, not just from randos on the internet, but from her own peers. It's not uncommon for middle-of-the-road analysts to try putting other analysts into tiers, usually on little basis other than their own subjective opinion and which analyst said mean things about my friend.
Because there's always been tiers in the Brony fandom. Toon Critic has fought kicking and screaming against this, and I've been known as the guy who may have not coined the term S-Class Brony. Actually, I think I am. But hell, I have a channel promoting the upper crust of the community, mostly defunct now. Left to my own work because there's just not enough people to carry the torch, which is a real fucking shame. I found it heartbreaking when I went to check Spirit Productions' channel and see that she shelved analysis as well. As for KP being shit on immediately people were calling bullshit. KP would have got away with it if she didn't cop to it. Now I'm sure you guys are like, wait, you're saying apologizing is wrong? Hear me out. When the wave of anti-KP dissent came up, KP's hardcore fans went on a crusade in the comment sections explaining this was entirely horseshit and based on nothing. It was the screeching wails that used to be in the comment sections of many of these videos that are now either private or taken down. KP admitted she fucked up, alienating her diehard fans that wanted to believe that she could do no wrong. The same thing that made her kinda unmade her. Half of KP's success was that image. It's the same reason why Dr. Wolf won't go on a show where he'll be questioned and be made to look, gasp, zounds, mortal. His fans, in all fairness, don't want to see that. I can understand. I'm an Obama supporter, for an example. It's kinda like that. With some very basic digging, you can find out that this shiny, bright-eyed politician is a flawed human being, with a lot of baggage, that got by being well polished, i.e. his image and how people perceived him. It naturally feels good to look at people you like and go, yeah, they're good people, in spite of them being not all that in-depth. This is Boogie0928. He's the ultimate cinnamon roll on YouTube.
That link in the description box below, I would really appreciate it if you did that because you'll be helping support me. But no, if you don't want to do that, that's okay too. More than anything, I appreciate you watching. Guys, as always, thanks for watching. I love you very much. I'll speak with you again soon.
If there were waves and waves of videos where he unironically acted like a dick, and I don't mean his Francis character, his views would go right in the toilet. Now, that everyone knows KP is awful, it's not like she can suddenly learn to think. She can't gain integrity or look for the little guy. Christ, what did she do to help herself? When KP got busted, she made a bunch of videos hobnobbing with little guys? That's something that Josh Scorcher is offering. Supposedly he's offering to work with Kichi FIM, British Ninja, and a couple other of my peers. I haven't forgotten about that, by the way. So I'm trying to understand this KP logic. I'm gonna hang out with Brony royalty to show that I don't step on the little guy? No, really, KP's idea of I'm sorry is doing videos with the Brony Notion, Dr. Wolf, Josh Scorcher, and Silverquill. This is her idea of penance. The idea of talking to Antony C was such a fucking labor that you should be believing her now? Christ, I talked to Antony C on this matter, and I consider myself privileged and fortunate for having done so.
This often being placed on individual people's shit tiers, despite outclassing them in every conceivable way. And KP's popularity is frequently invoked when crappy analysts rage quit their jobs because other people are surpassing them and they can't handle that.
Except KP was on a panel with Jesse Wood in 2014 at BronyCon. And this send-off video was a self-aware joke. Not to mention you're talking about popularity. Jesse's channel, which I love up and down, was always a niche. It's still a niche today. Brilliant, funny, smart. Jesse's channel is a bit like yours, except Jesse's not ashamed of what he looks like. Keck.
Criticism of KP has always come back to one major thing. She's very popular for making rather disposable work. But with how many people are often complaining about how po-faced and serious so many analysts are, it makes sense that the most popular is someone who is solely dedicated to humor and little else. But you know that I wouldn't be making this video if all this amounted to was people thinking KP wasn't funny. And you would be right. In addition to being sneered at by her peers, KP was one of the biggest targets for manufactured scandal. Every time one of her editors left her projects, they would be immediately on forums bemoaning about how much of a slave driver she was, and how much she cheated and lied to get her way to the top.
Isn't it funny that the person who does everything in her power to live her life where she's the most comfortable goes out of her way to admire and worship popularity? Because why exactly? Like, I could make something up, but I very much would rather you tell me, your fans, everyone for that matter. You literally made my own point. If every time one of her staff left and they bitched, it's manufactured, is that your logic?
All of this culminated in 2016, when anonymous sources claimed that KP's Let's Go and Meet John Delancey short was using leaked assets from Hasbro and was violating a mountain of copyright laws.
Twyfag is corpulent Brony. He's even copped to it on Twitter. It's not even speculation. So you're going to be showing she was crediting her workers? Or are you just going to guffaw your ass off? No one cared about copyright complaints. Simply Bogsy is a retard. End story.
The best person to work with, most of the complaints her editors had with her had been completely unaddressed. I said this in Horse Famous as a speculation, but as it turns out I was right. After all this started to blow up, KP went and asked her editors if there were any problems, at which point they up and told her what their problems were. This isn't the first time this has happened, mind. During the brief period I spent working on Analysis Anarchy, one of the directors came to me with an issue everyone was having regarding KP wanting to do voice acting, while they wanted her to participate in the writing. When I asked what happened when they confronted her about it, he told me they hadn't. At which point I said, fuck off, stop wasting my time, quit being such a worthless coward, and go deal with your problems like a big boy. Okay, I didn't say that, but on reflection I wish I had.
There are bronies till this day that I'm friends with who count on me to speak up for things that they can't be seen addressing publicly. Do you know why that is, Lily? Because people are terrified if you stand your ground that people will think, well, they're kinda like you. One, as if that were a bad thing. Two, yeah, I think it's fucking bullshit. Even though I make out like a madman for it, I'll be the first person to tell you my continued existence in this fandom, in a perfect world, in a sane world, in a semi-reasonable world, shouldn't exist. The content creators are dumb for not being able to do this themselves. The fans are dumb for thinking it's bad for people to speak up and not be as pure as the driven snow. So I want to say this to the audience, not mine, I mean the Brony audience in general, that just doesn't want there to be drama. You fucking made me. The mere fact your average fan is terrified to death of their pure sweetheart content creators made those same people have to go through back channels to handle things like this. And by all rights, should have been able to fucking handle it themselves. My fans do understand that drama is necessary, or else they'd spend the rest of their life being the means to someone else's ends. And that's the real cognitive dissonance in this video, Lily. You spend the majority of it jerking off popularity, and then getting annoyed when Jane and Joe's six-pack or whoever tried to challenge themselves mentally get it fucking wrong.
He told me they hadn't, at which point I said, fuck off, stop wasting my time, quit being such a worthless coward, and go deal with your problems like a big boy.
I routinely say this to Dylan Thomas from the commentary community when he bitches endlessly every fucking day about doodle tones. And I quote, just do a video or shut the fuck up. Lily, it doesn't help. And Dylan is infinitely more hands-on than, say, Josh. Even if people didn't have mounds and mounds of morality holding them back, people are either lazy or too comfortable just bitching than fixing the problem, which is what allowed KP to thrive.
Among a group of people go unaddressed, it only takes one bitter, vindictive crackpot to start the rumor mill flowing. And it's not uncommon for people in group projects to have problems, keep quiet about them, and get increasingly angrier and angrier at the person for failing to read their mind, and then quit the project and start talking all kinds of shit about that person in particular.
Except you're a fucking moron because none of those people quit the project. Those images aren't for any of the editors. The real meat and potatoes of that project. Oh, here's another idea. Why didn't you reach out to any of KP's editors that actually had her back? Oh wait, you didn't want to talk to anyone. You just wanted to talk out your ass. Why didn't you reach out to Jay Moore on your shitty substandard little fucking podcast? Cunt.
Said this before and it bears repeating. If KP really was as horrible as so many people like to claim she was, she wouldn't continue to have a staff working with her. It's not like this is an actual job that they needed to pay rent. Her editors would have quit en masse rather than occasionally having an editor leave to go yell into the void of space. But once it was all fully laid out and in the open, it became clear that most of the issues were minor yet irritating quibbles.
This is the same person who literally cuts off people for less than that in her fucking comment section daily. You are the same of all people who have the sheer unmitigated fucking gall to ask people to open up to fucking understanding and listening. Suck a dick. Suck a bag full of dicks.
Really highlights how disingenuous this whole shitstorm was. The interesting part isn't even in the video, it's in the description. With the abusive behaviors of KP coming to a head, a Horse News article and a Twitter account has surfaced. Horse News article. We've talked about horse news before. They're a blog site similar to Equestria Daily, only far nastier and more vindictive. Some people like to claim that they're a parody site, but what they're a parody of continues to elude the rest of us. This, however, was apparently supposed to be taken seriously, so it seems that horse news is a parody site only when it's convenient for them. Anybody even remotely familiar with horse news would have stopped right at the headline. Claiming that shit's going down because horse news posted an article is like opening a vindictive rant with the phrase, "Even 8chan was helping me." That's the point where any reasonable person would have immediately stopped.
I've talked to Josh about this boner, and I got him to take down the 8chan logo out of the thumbnail. Moreover, I covered that drama. I stand behind my work on KP, both of them. I stand behind the people who told me everything I know. You fucking lose. Also, I'm going to turn to a source that I have zero respect for out of pragmatism. Except I know most Josh Scorcher fans will agree with this, and that'll be Game Set Match.
Yeah, but the popular way isn't always the lasting way. Look again! Fad is just one letter away from fade, and that's exactly what they do. They fade away. That's why it's better to focus on being good rather than being popular. If you can be both, great, but if you have to choose one over the other, always pick good over popular. Because once the people grow out of it and move on to the next popular thing, there's nothing of substance to bring them back. And the timeless message you claim to fight so hard for becomes just another passing trend to forget about.
It's so fucking obvious this trained monkey could figure it out. Since KP has nothing of substance whatsoever, most people, i.e. 2/3 of our audience, couldn't justify coming back to her. She is a shell of her former self. Her channel by all rights is dead, and it's never coming back.
Any reasonable person would have been skeptical about these accusations to begin with. Anyone paying the slightest degree of attention would know that KP's been the target of jealous rage and hyperbolic nonsense for years, and the fact that the leaks were anonymous cast even more doubt. I mean, we all weren't born yesterday, right? We all know to take anonymous testimonials about a person with a massive grain of salt.
Respectably honest, admired people in this community that had nothing to do with horse news, people like Calpain, the head editor of UQD, came out in full support of Anon KP Links, who was also the head editor of Molestia. Someone that your disgusting little friend harassed. I regret having to keep bringing up Calpain of all the people, but he was one of the few people who fucking came forward. If you look around my podcast and see the big names in them, none of them liked KP except for Antony C, and he was kidding himself when he thought he could prevail using truth. And with all due and total respect, hell again, when I covered KP for the first time, the thumbnail wasn't even about her. I had people pestering me to do it. And I, unlike Blizzard Entertainment and yourself, I can give the fans what they fucking want. When it's steamrolling a piece of shit like Rachel, it's hardly any skin off my ass.
We all know not to take any information we get from 4chan or 8chan seriously, right? We can't be living in a post-Breitbart, post-Gamergate, post-Trump world and actually be so gullible as to take anonymous testimonials and cherry-pick screenshots as something worth more than deletion.
Let me show you something. This is Lily Peet's Boogeyman.
About all that junk science, all that bullying, all that corruption, bad guys doing bad things. It's the gift that goes on giving. Don't believe all the stuff you read about the vanishing polar bears, the melting glaciers and the rising sea levels. I can tell you what's really going on. I'm James Dellingpole, and we are Breitbart.
Terrifying. This dork keeps Lily Peet awake at night, shaking her fist at the ceiling. I've peeked at Breitbart. It's stupid bullshit, and anyone who invoked this name as a serious threat to anything is insane. Is out of their ever-loving fucking mind.
People with the luxury of anonymity lie constantly, and that's what most of this nonsense was. Lies. They were a bunch of liars. They actively, knowingly lied to the general public. The reality was that KP made exactly the kind of mistakes you would expect from someone managing a team of people with very little
Except the Secret Rift had its own project recently, and there's no backlash I'm privy to, and again, and this is an open invitation for anyone in that room to come bitch to me. I'll be glad to hear it.
She's not Keemstar. She's not Jontron. She's not a dickhead right-wing pundit. She made a handful of rather innocuous mistakes, but the carnivorous attitude of anonymous nobodies to gossip just couldn't help itself.
My name is Antony Aguilar, Jerry. Get fucked. Say my name, faggot. I've never hid it. I'm not ashamed of it. I'm not ashamed of who I am or what I do. You want to be called Lily, you fucking don't call me anonymous, cunt.
Just couldn't help itself. I made it look like I thought the thing about slave labor was silly and sensationalist. But in reality, I think this is the most disgusting part of this years-long temper tantrum. That right there. An accusation of slave labor, while simultaneously saying it's clickbaity, but that it's actually true, no really, stop laughing. That is the most disgusting thing I have ever seen written or spoken about another person. And I've seen some disgusting shit written about KP and myself over the years.
Really, no one cares if you wrote some edgy fan fiction about child abuse years ago. Shut the fuck up, this isn't about you, you whiny, self-important cunt. Anna Chloeam is a wonderful human being. Being that I might have butted heads with her because I'm an asshole, but if she's correcting you, at least on some level, she has a point. Also, for the record, she had no problem correcting me for my behavior. Almost immediately. Go fuck yourself with your retarded echo chamber, with your whimpering, made-up wife, and your mindless retarded Zane. Get fucked. Anna knows who she is and who she wants to be. Why I entirely disagree with her backsliding on the issue now. Part of that comes from the fact that maybe I'm just wrong.
This is a jumping off point for a broader topic, but I don't have a broader point to make today, other than to shine a light on just how vicious and nasty the seedy underbelly of the Brony community can be. I've talked about it before in episodes like Posh Princess and Horse Famous and an Artist Meltdown story. The sheer level that some bronies will sink to for imagined crimes is nothing short of disgusting. This garbage should have been dismissed immediately. The anonymous nature, the obvious attempts at extortion, the open laziness with their own claims should have subjected it to mockery, and the fact that anybody took it seriously is nothing short of shameful, because it shows that they really are the most gullible people on the planet. There were videos and responses to this bullshit that all took it at face value. Equestria Daily had an editorial about horse fame based on this absolute nonsense. Nonsense that originated from an anonymous Twitter and 4chan. Are you really that fucking stupid? It has to be said, huge respect for Antony C for just flat out not having that shit, for recognizing bullshit immediately because no fucking shit he works with KP, and smacking it down without mercy, which is a fuck ton more than what KP's other friends had to say on the matter, which was fucking—
You're an entitled cunt with no pot to piss in on this topic. You mean Antony C, that we fucking wrecked. That's right, because Lily Peet is utterly happy looking down her family, losing her friends, and cornering herself away from anything that might make her feel better. I'm a lot of things. I am not anonymous filth. I own up to what I am. Why don't you fucking try it for once in your miserable shit-ass life? Thank you, fuck you, bye.